the past 2 days I've been sailing across the North Sea, from Bergen in Norway to Invergordon in Scotland, as a passenger on the tall ship, the Statstrad Lemcool. But this is no pleasure cruise. I've joined the ship as a trainee crew member, as any member of the public can, to learn how to sail a square rigger. As a member of Greenwatch, on duty from 4 till 8 in the morning, and then again from 4 till 8 in the evening, I've spent my time working on all aspects of the ship. Navigating on the bridge, climbing the rigging and steering the ship. I went to bed at 9 last night after my watch, desperately hoping that tomorrow, my last day on board, we'll be able to drop the sails and turn off that engine.
Good morning everyone, it's 3:15, so it's time to get up. It's a bit rainy outside and a lot of wind, and we're going to turn around.
It's 3:15 in the morning. I haven't slept 1 minute. I've heard every single bell, every half hour. My neighbour here has been snoring all night, which means I have not slept 1 minute. It's raining. It's raining, is it? Is it raining? Okay. I think we've got some sail up because it sounded like there was something going on. It's time to use the Christmas gloves at last. Thanks, Mum. Oh, we've got 2 staysails. Some bright lights over there. I think that's probably an oil rig. Wind's got up loads since yesterday. Probably a good top 4, maybe a force 5. So we've got some nice waves coming over, and the bow wave looks quite good. At 3:30 a.m, all of the Greenwatch are gathered on deck, whilst our watch leaders checked that we had all managed to drag our sails out of our hammocks below. Before the first watch at 4 a.m, we sleepily made our way to the kitchen. There's very, very strong coffee. Because we're so far north, in summer it's amazing how light it is at 4 in the morning. There's going to be a bit of deck scrubbing going on now, but with a bit of luck I'm going to avoid it because we're going on watch on the lookout post. Some of the decks on the Statstrad Lemcool are original from when she was built in 1914. These decks are made of unvarnished teak, which gives a good grip in all conditions. It's 5 to 6 Norwegian time. I've now got a report from my lookouts duty for the next hour, standing up on the bow here, keeping an eye on what's coming and going, reporting at the bell, which will be acknowledged by the bell on the helm. 1 ring for starboard, 2 for port, 3 for something dead ahead. I'll stand out here for an hour to get frozen. Never mind, it's all good fun. We're looking out for not only ships passing each way, but also for cots and buoys. And the main threat is from containers which have fallen off container ships unbeknown to the captain in rough weather, and they float just below the surface. So we've got to keep our eyes peeled. Therefore I've thrown my vanity to the winds, put the old specs on so I can see everything, keep my eyes peeled. Pretty drafty up here. Oh, what's that? A ship. Or is that a container vessel? So hang on, port, 2 rings on the port side. It has to be said though, that apart from the oil rigs there's not an awful lot else in the North Sea. After my watch, in a quiet moment, I chatted to Anke Postma, a full-time crew member, about life on board the Statstrad Lemcool. So how did you first get involved in tall ships and so on?
I was doing some kind of other jobs. I've been in sales, I've been in tourism, I've been in office work, I've done a lot of things, so I made a lot of money. So I could go sailing,
right.
You know, but I had to work also a lot.
Yeah.
And then I thought, hey, something's wrong here. I'm doing something wrong. So I decided to go sailing for my profession and just leave the shore.
So you're completely in this for good now, are you?
Yeah,
Yeah?
Yeah, never going back to a shore job again.
No, excellent. Good. So what is your position on the Liverpool?
On board of the Norwegian ships, I'm a lead matros. On board a ship, you start normally being an apprentice. So
Right.
you're working with the crew, but you're a volunteer. So
Right.
you learn about all the sails, the ropes, and after that you're going to be a young man.
Right.
That's like a young man.
Yes.
That's the first step.
That's right down
Then
there.
you get paid. Then you're going to be a lead matros, then you're going to be a matros.
Right.
And from a matros, that's all the deck crew, and then you have a boatsman, and then you're going to the officers, steerman, mate, and captain, and going further up. You start on the bottom, and you slowly work your way up all the way to the bridge, and then you're a captain.
Look at all this lot. All these ropes. Clue lines, bunt lines, sheets, and others I haven't been taught about yet. But these are just one half of the ropes used to control the sails on one mast. Now I've been waiting for the wind to get up, which it has, but it hasn't changed direction. The captain's decided we're going to change direction of the ship so we can get some sails up and sail this sailing ship and turn that engine off. The watch leader over there has just come up and asked me if I can give her a hand freeing off the forecourse and the lower topsail sail gaskets. And I said yes. I went up the rigging on the first day when the sea was like a mill pond. Now it's blowing a force 6, it's raining, and a totally different proposition. The first challenge was to make it to the first crow's nest. That was the easy bit. Now we need to go out on the yard where the sails are stowed. Hey boy, you gotta ask yourself, do you feel lucky? Well, do ya? The walkway where we put our feet is nothing more than a tensioned cable, but we're also secured by a harness should we fall. The sails are stowed on top of the yards, and to free them off, the sail gaskets must be untied. As we made our way to the ends of the yard, we were no longer over the ship, just the choppy sea below. With one of the sails freed off, we moved to another yard until we had enough sail to power the ship. Unlike modern Bermudan rig boats with their triangular sails, a ship with a square sail can't sail close to the wind. The spars can only be slewed around so far, so the wind needs to be at least on the side of the boat to make good progress. So before tall ships were fitted with engines, if the wind was blowing in the wrong direction, all you could do was furl the sails and wait for it to change. This meant voyages could take weeks rather than days. Hi! I tell you, you can forget your roller coasters, your bungee jumps and your amusement arcades. That beats the lot. Just you up there, hanging on, doing the job. It is superb. But that's only half the job. For the sails to be effective, they must be sheeted in. So the whole of Greenwatch was pulled to haul on the rope to tighten the sheets. It takes an incredible force to tension the sail, and we are fighting the force of the wind that powers the whole ship. So now we have some mainsails up, we can finally turn off that engine. Great pride is taken in the appearance of a sailing ship, so in downtime the brass is polished to a shine. Now, for those of you who have read those hornblower books and heard how the chap got hit on the head with a belaying pin, there is a belaying pin. A great big lump of solid bronze. If you get hit on the head with that, that's the last thing you'll ever know. Well, this is it. Doesn't get much better than this. I'm off watch, sun's out, the sails are up, and we're bowling along in the middle of the North Sea with these great white breaking crests each side of us. It's absolutely superb. Been up since 3:15 this morning, so I'm running out of steam, but we've got lunch in about 5 minutes. So it's down below for a mega lunch and then an afternoon nap. Now under sail, the boat was heeling right over, making walking in the canteen below an interesting experience. No longer is the rumbling engine in the background, just the sound of the waves on the hull and the wind in the rigging. So, as I slept below decks, we sailed towards Scotland. Our final bearing to Scotland, though, meant we had to again head into the wind. So as the rain came down, both Blue and Red Watch were summoned to furl the sails. Within a few hours, we'll be in sunny Scotland. We're just approaching the shores of bonnie Scotland. Invergordon is behind me, and I'm just about to finish my last watch on the lookout post. It's bitterly cold out here. They called out Red and Blue Watch to help take down the sails. It was very windy, force 7, force 8. All exciting stuff. I would have been asleep, however my neighbour was still snoring through the whole thing, keeping me awake, as he has done every single night. If you look behind me, you can see the gap in the hills, and that's Cromarty Firth. You can also see a few oil rigs where they moor them temporarily. Look at the size of this fender. I'll take this one back to Tessa. Rip it a bit. So this is where our voyage ends, and it's time to say goodbye to my friends on the Green Watch. The rest of the crew are continuing, on up to the islands of Shetland and Orkney. But there's work for me to do back in the workshop in Chichester. Finally, it's time to launch the Sharpie, and we have a very special guest. We've tracked down Wally Langdon, who built our Sharpie 50 years ago with his father, who's seen here next to it, not long after she was built. It seems a long time since we found the Sharpie, waiting on a driveway in a sorry state. But although I knew I'd let myself in for a lot of work, she's a classic and definitely worth saving. She had been restored once before and lined with expanding foam. Unfortunately, this had caused a rot trap, so it all had to be removed to get back to the hull. The deck would have to go too, but once back to the bare bones we unearthed another problem. She was seriously twisted. Before we could do anything else, we had to get her back in line. Then another problem. One side was higher than the other. The deck beams were pretty rickety, so I decided to make new ones using a fairing batten to draw the camber. Then it was to work on the floors, the ribs that hold the planking together. The new floors had to fit exactly the shape of the boat, so we used a patterning technique to follow every contour before transferring the shape onto a new piece of oak. I ended up replacing all the deck beams in the end, and quite a few of the floors, after which I could get to work on the deck. This is high quality marine ply that I cut to shape before priming and painting the inside, avoiding the areas of the masking tape where it will be glued to the deck beams. Once the deck was on, she was as stiff as a church and weighed about as much, and I could finally turn her over and get to work on the bottom. The planking was actually fine, so we just recorked the seams with cotton and rubber to keep the water out, whilst allowing for some expansion in the wood when she finally gets wet. With the hull nearing completion, I set about fixing a less than perfect set of gaff jaws. The best way of making a strong, curved wooden piece like this is by using laminates, thin strips of wood glued together and shaped around the jig. Once set, I used the old jaw as a pattern for the new one. Using epoxy mixed with filler, I fill and fair the top sides. We then use long boards to smooth them off. Next, the fun bit, painting our Sharpie. First with 3 coats of primer, then undercoat, and finally top coat to give us a glassy finish. A spline of wood routed into the edge finishes the deck off, and once all the deck fittings and the mast was on, she's ready to sail. So this is the culmination of months of work, and Tessa and I are understandably very excited.
Let's spin around a bit. Now we're going to have to go out that little creek there through these withes. We'll just put the jib up and then we can sort of weave our way through and maybe put the mainsail up when we're out there. Yeah. First thing to do is get the mast up. Okay.
Although I feel I intimately know every detail of our Sharpie, we didn't, until today, know her name. Wally informs me she was called, wait for it, Rudolph. When she was built, the red mahogany being as red as that reindeer's nose. And this is him sailing her over 40 years ago in Southampton water.
Right, we'll whack those in there. There's a nice shiny new gaff jaw there, which is I'm going to try out for the first time today. Oh, very exciting. Back the way you came. Get my high quality sailing equipment on.
And here goes, the first launch of Rudolph in over 10 years.
He's so brave getting wet. He loves getting wet, by the way. Just loves it. This is how I don't get wet feet, because I'm such a girl. Right. Thank you very much. Right. Let's go sharpieing.
Wally and the film crew are following along right behind us in the yard launch to see her in action and just in case anything goes wrong.
But it's so smooth, isn't it? I mean, it just rides over these little chops so gently. And you get a gust and it's quite slow to react, and then you lean out really hard and nothing happens. That looks like the wind's getting up quite nicely now, so you might get her up on the plane. Go on, Rudolph. Apparently she's called Rudolph because she used to be sort of very mahogany and very red, and now she's very yellow, so probably a reindeer with seasickness. It's really great for Wally seeing her going again. I mean, last time we saw her, she was languishing in his drive for, 10 years. And he turns up today, and here we are, whizzing around. It's great, you know, and I wouldn't have thought it went this well, but we're slipping along really nicely.
Very fast.
And it's not leaking, and it's very good for the stomach muscles. When you get a boat to restore, you start off all full of enthusiasm, and then you got all the high points of getting it home and everything, and then you start to take it apart, and you go, oh God, and you find it's much, much worse, and you put all that effort in, and people come around and tell you you're mad and go out and buy a fiberglass one and just go sailing. But it's when you get out on a day like this in your restored boat, and it's not just the sailing, you're sitting in this thing that you've recreated that was going to go on the bonfire, and you just need one sail like this, and it makes all those bruised knuckles, all those cut fingers, all that painting, all that varnishing, all that wood, and the expense, makes it all worthwhile. I love it. There's just nothing better than sailing a boat that you've restored yourself.
Ill health stopped Wally sailing a few years ago, but he wasn't going to pass up a chance to sail on his old friend Rudolph.
I thought when I saw it come off on the trailer, I thought the last time I had seen it, I would see it.
Right.
And I was amazed to have this opportunity. That is absolutely incredible.
Amazed that there's somebody mad enough to restore it again.
Yes,
Yes.
I would never thought it possible.
I think your dad would be quite happy, wouldn't he?
He would indeed,
Yes.
yes. He would never have thought this any more than I. It's incredible.
I really hope you lot out there have enjoyed watching Getting Afloat. We've had so much fun making it. We've seen some beautiful boats and met some great people. And we've had great fun restoring this Sharpie. And hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun sailing her in the future. But we have to tell you, it's taken a bit longer than we thought. We were supposed to finish by the end of the summer. And actually, it's now the middle of January. The water's next to freezing. And although it's a sunny day, it's bitterly cold. So most restorations take a little longer than you think. But this one's well worth it. Go out and get yourself a boat. You'll love it.